Section 3, scale factor. Our goal is to say that you can properly find the scale factor and apply the scale factor with two-dimensional figures. So here you have an example one where Betty's Bagels kept track of its sales for one day. The data is reflected below. So as we read this, we see that plain bagels had a total of 80 sold that day, and so on. Everything bagels would be 50, and so on. Now, before we go any further with something like this, we're going to want to have a total. So if we add up these pieces all together, we get 250 total bagels sold. The total of 250 will be used at a later time. Our first question says, what is the ratio of plain bagels to sesame seed? So we have two types of bagels they're inquiring about. A ratio can be written in two different ways, a fraction or a colon. And we'll write it with a colon first. So plain bagels had 80. And sesame seed bagels had 25. Now this is written as with a colon. You can also write it as 80 over 25. Now it's good practice to take any ratio and write it in simplest form. So if we simplify this, we would get, I believe 5 goes into each one, and we get 16 over 5. And again, that can be written in fraction form or in ratio form. Notice one important part, and that is that we went plain bagels to sesame seed bagels, and that order matters. In question B here, it says, if during the week they sell a total of 2,200 bagels, how many were whole grain? And this is where proportions come into play. So we have a question about whole grain, and it says whole grain had 45 sold in one day. So if I go 45 bagels out of the total bagels sold in one day, that's why we have the total 250 and why we calculated that. That should be proportional to an unknown amount of whole grain bagels over 2,200 total bagels sold. That ratio should be consistent. There's our proportion. We know to solve a proportion, which is two fractions that equal to each other, we cross multiply. And in doing so, we get 250x equals the product of 45 and 2,200, which is, I believe, 99,000. You divide by 250 to solve. And out of 2,200 bagels, 396 approximately would be whole grain. And this ends the Section 3 scale factor of the example 1 type of question.